Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Carissa Andrews. And she is an entrepreneur, and I'm really delighted to have her on. She's gonna, and so Carissa, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So I know, like I said, we're talking about authorship, writing a book, AI, and insight. So give the audience a general overview of what you do, how you got started, and we'll dive right into the conversation.
Sounds great. So my name is obviously Carissa Andrews. I am an international and award-winning best-selling author. I'm an indie author, so that means that I own my own business. I run my own entrepreneur business, and then I also teach authors using my company, Author Revolution. So I've got a podcast. We've been around for like 6 years now at this point, and it's been fun teaching authors how to do what I do, but also doing what I do. So for whatever reason, I can't sit still.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And so, yeah, and I love the term authorpreneurship. So for the audience who hasn't heard of that term, just tell them what it is.
Yeah, and people first heard of like, oh, authors who are self-publishing, that must mean you weren't good enough to get into traditional publishing houses, right? And I've been around long enough to know that that was probably never truly the case, but it was like there were some people that were definitely vanity pressing it and selling books out of their their cars because they couldn't quite do it. But nowadays, really honestly, it's about taking ownership of their creative endeavors like an entrepreneur. So we are working through our books, we're producing quality work, we're doing our covers, we're working with teams, we have a whole system in place in order to be able to put out our books and be able to put out the best products for our readers. So we understand everything from marketplace to reader expectations to how to pull in money, how to like advertise our books. We do a lot of things. And so usually we're wearing a ton of different hats, like most solopreneurs. So,
Yeah, yeah, and so excuse me. Talk about this idea of a lot of I was listening to this podcast, and it was talking about manifestation, and and you mentioned the significant role of manifestation and using the law of attraction, and just share some specific habits or things that you have done to impact your success and activate the law of attraction.
yeah, absolutely. So, law of attraction is really kind of the like starting point for a lot of people. So not just authors, but people in general, when they first start understanding how law of attraction works, that like our thoughts actually bring to us the things that we're thinking about, right? Where and it doesn't have to be good things, right? If you're focused on the things that are not quite serving you, you can bring those things to you too, because the universe isn't discerning in that way. It's like, oh, here's this thing you do not want. Here you go, because you keep thinking about it. Or you can focus your energy and attention on the things that you do want. And what I've noticed over the years, first with myself, but then as a broader spectrum with the authors that I teach, was that there's a this underlying, I don't know, like lack mentality that kind of really goes through the indie author sphere, right? Where we think that authors can't earn a lot of money or artists can't earn a lot of money, that we are starving artists, that we're going to be doing this until like just because we love it and we'll never earn anything from it. But honestly, that doesn't have to be the case. That's all just a thought process that's kind of keeping you stuck because you're focused on the wrong end of the spectrum versus how can I make this work for me? How can I make a lot of money from this? What do I need to learn or implement in order to be a big name success in my genre? Things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so I think one thing that people get confused is because I was talking to another podcast guest, and they were talking about so they're doing all these visualization, feeling, belief, and it hasn't come. And what's the difference between a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, yeah, it's never going to come, I'm doing all the work but nothing is showing up, versus just it takes time and delays learning. Expand that for the audience.
Yeah, so it's really about
Yeah.
alignment. So when you're focused on and thinking about in any way, shape, or form, I'm doing all the things, it's not working, nothing's happening, I don't understand why it's not happening. You have to realize you're activating the it's not working, it's not happening, nothing's working, nothing's coming through. That's what the vibrational frequency is that you're putting out, right? And so if you want it to
uh,
come, when you think about the people who are successful, the people who are doing it, that is not even a thought that floats across their mind, because to them, it already is. It's already done. It's already working. It's already here. Right. So there's very different vibe between those two things. And if you're focused on or looking for the evidence of it's not working, you're going to find it,
Yeah.
because you're going to sabotage yourself. You're going to do things that are not in alignment with actually having the thing that you want. Where if you put yourself into a place of it's already here, it's already mine. I know I can do this thing. I know I can figure it out. I'm in mid manifestation. So this is something I teach authors when they're feeling like, why isn't it working? It's taking a long time. It's typically because we're mid manifestation. It's like when you're writing a novel and the middle of the book, the messy middle, is taking forever and it sucks so much to write that thing. And you're like, when is this book ever going to end? And eventually you get to the end point. Eventually you have to wrap it up and finish the book, right? It's the same kind of thing with a manifestation. So sometimes it will take it doesn't have to stop. Sometimes it'll take time because we're trying to find the tools to put in our toolbox. Like sometimes it means, okay, I want to have an author career that's going to sustain me for the rest of my life. Well, what does that mean to you? Does it mean having a lot of books? Does it mean having a lot of readers that already know your name? Does it mean earning a lot of money from one space or another? Like, what does that mean? And so as you start to work through it, you might realize, okay, I need to learn how to use this platform or this advertising thing. I need to connect with these people. I need to utilize this tool and figure out how it works. Like, so you're going to end up having aspects that you have to pull together in order to make it work. And so sometimes you're just mid manifestation. It's not working. If you're actually taking steps, doing the thing towards your goal, it's working. It's just you haven't fully actualized it just yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of what's really interesting is I have a lot of clients, and this is one thing is especially in the doctor field. So they quit their practice, or they're sick of medicine, but and they go out to be entrepreneurs, and let's say, I mean, they're making decent money, 200, 300, but not enough, and compared to their, other cohorts who are making like 800, 900, and they feel like a failure. And so talk about this idea of realism, and success, and how this comparison actually holds you back.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're holding yourself in comparison, you're not actually putting in and tapping into what it is that you truly want, right? So many of us think that we want to be millionaires, we want to have so much money, we want to have all the things, but we don't realize that, do we actually need that in order to tap into the happiness we're trying to seek, or the thing that we're trying to pull in with the money, right? Because no amount of money is going to bring you the happiness or the peace of mind or the calmness or the clarity or the confidence that you're actually seeking. It really is, you got to start with the inside first and figure out what is the reason you're seeking this amount of money. And is that really necessary? Is that really true? Like, could you live on less than that? Would that make it worse? Could you live on more than that? Could that make it better? Like, what is it you can truly tap into and feel good about? And when you start to realize, okay, maybe I actually don't want that amount. What I really want is more freedom. Well, then now all of a sudden you have a different goal to be looking at. You have something else you're trying to seek out, and it might not require that amount of money. And if you're looking at other people's incomes, what are they doing? Does that lifestyle look like it's the right thing for you? Or are they working themselves ragged? Are they, digging holes and not able to get out of it? Are they doing it because they're trying to chase after bills that they need to pay off because they went overboard? Like, we don't always understand why people have certain amounts of money or chase a certain amount of money, but we know ourselves and we know what we really are after. So the first thing is always to tap into, like, what is it you're really chasing when it is that dollar amount in specific? And can you achieve it first and then start working towards gaining it after? You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot, and a lot of it's just kind of this status ego comparison game, and it's
Yeah.
like it's what you said. It's like you don't really need it. It's just kind of, you're kind of programmed, and then you're like, yeah, I have to compare myself to my colleagues, and XYZ. But actually, you don't. It's like you don't really need that. It's just more of a just kind of a ego thing, which is really enlightening. So kind of moving on to the next question is what talk about, all my conversations these days are about AI in the creative process, and as a, you're a tech savvy speaker, How do you see AI transforming the indie publishing landscape? What tools, technology are helping you that you could recommend?
Oh, absolutely. I think I love technology. So for me, whenever a new program, a new product, a new whatever's out, I'm typically the first one to hop in as an early adopter because number one, I like to figure out how it works. And then number two, I like to be able to teach it if it works really well. So as of right now, obviously the big name player is ChatGPT. I love working with ChatGPT. It's been probably the most transformative tool that I have used in my 12, 13 years of writing and publishing and teaching writing and publishing. It's been so great. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Anthropic and Claude as well. They're so great, and it has a much larger context window. So for authors who are trying to write their books using an AI device, Claude is actually probably the better scenario. But I like ChatGPT for the versatility and for being able to use the custom GPTs to be able to get it to understand what I'm looking for and going for. And plus, it's awesome because now you have DALL-E incorporated into it as well. So if you're creating like a social media post, you can be like, great, thanks so much for that, chat. Now can you do an image that'll go along with that post? And it can create that for you as well. So good. But in terms of ideation alone, so that what I teach when it comes to authors and AI is actually using it to ideate and trying to brainstorm their series, their characters, their world building, their plot points, getting their outlines nailed down. That's my favorite part of it. And what it can do for authors and get them unstuck when they're trying to map out and plan their books, it's been just an absolute game changer.
Yeah, yeah, and I really, it's like I the more uh, fine tuned and nuanced you can use ChatGPT, the more powerful and effective. And even in my travels, I'm using ChatGPT, using translator, Google Translate.
Yeah.
It's
You can
it's
translate
really
right on, like if you have the app that you can translate right then and there and just say, hey, chat, you're going to have to help me translate. Like, I'm going to speak this, they're going to speak that. Here we go. And it'll go back and forth now. It's crazy. So good.
yeah, yeah. What about because you mentioned, you can do text to text and you can do text to image. What about text to video, and how do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think Sora is available yet for most people. So it is eventually coming. You're going to have the opportunity to be able to do video, but it's not quite available, at least not from OpenAI just yet. But it's coming. I've seen some of the videos on it. I've seen how it's working. It's going to be another game changer for, well, not just authors, because we could start doing like video trailers of our books and things like that, because the snippets are going to be small at first. But as the technology evolves, look out movie industry, because there's probably some very detailed, awesome things that are coming our way that are going to be AI generated, and it's going to revolutionize. I mean, it's already revolutionizing everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets me to thinking, is there ever going to be like an AI author, and like we won't need to write books, but the AI will produce books, and just because, the world population's going down, and everybody's like, companies are struggling to find workers, and so they're looking to like robots and AI. I saw this article on like robo taxis now. So talk about this idea of you know innovative author strategies. And as a CEO of Author Revolution, what are some of the most innovative strategies you've developed or taught to help indie authors achieve financial empowerment and build sustainable careers?
Yeah. So when it comes to AI, I think there will be a point where AI can create stories based off of what a reader's wanting. Like if they're like, I want to have, an alien shifter paranormal romance that's polyamorous and has a why choose at the end that does all these things. And then, you know what I mean? They could get very specific and AI will give it to them. But there's always going to be people who are like, you know what? I really value the creative process that other people are doing. And so even if AI can do it for people, I don't think it's ever going to reach a point where it's as novel as when a human being is doing it, right? So there's that transition there. But when it comes to developing their author careers and understanding how to really leverage and earn a profit from their author careers, number one, it starts with your mindset. You have to believe you can achieve it. If you don't believe you can make it happen, you just won't ever set out on the path. Number two, it's about learning and being open to explore the opportunities that may seem like they're counterintuitive, like AI. There's so many people who are like anti-AI. If you are not on the AI train, you're going to be falling off of the wagon very soon if you haven't already, because it is steamrolling everything. And it is so powerful and so good. It makes our lives so much easier if you go ahead and like start playing around and utilizing it. But there's other ways to be able to incorporate things, right? You have to be willing to test the waters and find out, is this for me? Like, is it TikTok? Do I like TikTok? No, not really. Well, is it Instagram then? Do you like Instagram? Like there's things that we always have to be looking at from a very curious and experimental perspective in order to really embrace who need to be as authors and how we need to explore and expand our careers. And if you can do that, nothing is going to be able to stop you from reaching the financial success you're looking for, because you're always going to come at it curiously. You're going to be like, okay, well, why did this series not earn very much? Let's take a closer look at the trends that are happening right now. Let's take a closer look at the covers or the tropes or the things. You're going to always be digging in and understanding things at a much deeper level. And at some point, you're going to have that breakout series. You're going to have that breakout book, and things are going to expand.
My next question is, I'm kind of curious, is because you were able to balance multiple genres, just, urban, paranormal, romantic, and has AI helped you to switch between these different genres, or what strategies do you use to maintain a fresh and creative approach for each?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I use AI a lot to be able to help me just get get deeper into the tropes and the ideas of it. I haven't used a whole lot to write huge chunks of prose, because for me, I love the writing process. I don't fault anybody who uses it to be able to create their stories, as long as they are the master manipulator of ChatGPT and they know how to prompt chat in a way that gives them good prose for their story, and not just taking chat's idea and running with it. Because when you're an author, you know what I mean? It's like when you're an author, you want to have a story to tell and you know the story. And so chat will come up with some weird things if you're letting it do its own thing. And so in order to maintain your voice and your integrity, you have to create the idea and the vision of what the story is first, and then make sure that chat is sticking to your narration, your version of it. But when it comes to switching back and forth, I've always been really good at that. I don't know why. I've always been good at going between author revolution and then my urban fantasy pen name, Carissa Andrews. And now that I've added rom-com, they're so different that it's like when you're talking to different people, or having to interact with your kids differently. They're different, so it isn't a hard transition. But the thing that's helped me the most is really honestly reading in the genres that I'm writing in. So if it's nonfiction and I'm writing a book on quantum manifestation, which is what I'm doing right now, I am inundating my brain with other people who are in the field, people who are talking about it, the way that it works, understanding how quantum physics works. Like, you know what I mean? Going into quantum entanglement, I'm deep diving into it. And then I'm going to start writing and mapping out my process. Same thing goes with rom-com. I will sit and read rom-com after rom-com after rom-com after rom-com to get back into the vibe as I go back into writing rom-coms. And same with, I've been writing urban fantasy for over a decade, so that one's pretty easy for me to transition to. But you know what I mean? So to me, it's really about getting into reader expectation, knowing what kind of product I'm trying to deliver, and then making sure I hit those marks.
Yeah, I love that. And I can really sense, your style and your creative flow when you're writing. It's really important to immerse yourself. How can people find you if they want to publish the book, work with you, reach out to you, check out your material, and follow you on socials?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to go if you're looking for any of the coursework for Author Revolution is authorrevolution.org. It is Author Revolution, so there's two R's in the middle there. And from that point, you can find my podcast, you can find my courses, you can find all of the nonfiction stuff. And if you're looking for the rom-coms or urban fantasy, you can go over to carissaandrews.com. So it's Carissa, again, A, and then Andrews with an A. So there's two A's in the middle, .com. And over there, you're going to find everything for the most part. Even I think there's even a link back over to Author Revolution at that one.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Carissa for coming on, and be sure to check out her work. Reach out to her if you're interested in becoming an author, and give her a like and follow on socials. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was